Good afternoon to all of you. I have two jobs. I manage money as an investor, about $50 billion for the last 25 years. And I'm also the chair of a foundation which is very focused on climate change. We give away about $250 million a year in grants. So I understand both sides of the debate. But there's no debate that we're burning down the planet at a fast rate. There were some slides, but don't seem to be there. Doesn't matter. Green button. Okay. And companies are the primary culprit. 40% of emissions globally, direct emissions, are companies, and they keep rising. And there is a myth that companies are going to decarbonize voluntarily. And from all everything I see, all my interactions, it's completely obvious that voluntary won't work, does not work. And even though it is in the long-term interests of companies to decarbonize because of the devastation and the higher price of changing the longer we leave things. Now, I'm going to really cut to the conclusion. Okay, so why doesn't voluntary work? Because decarbonization costs money. Okay, and some people call it the green premium. This is two examples: the cost of plant low greenhouse gas meat, the price of low carbon cement, the price of low carbon steel. We could keep going on. And while this green premium will decline if there's more volume and learning curves, for many sectors, there will always be a green premium. It will cost money. And companies will not voluntarily change their business models and go to a cost disadvantage, okay? Because it lowers their profits and puts them at a competitive disadvantage, and they can be bankrupted in competitive industries, and so they suffer a first mover disadvantage, and their shareholders are passive and look at the same point that they will not push a company to become uncompetitive. So here's the punchline. Without regulation, taxes, and subsidies, industry will not decarbonize. That's the punchline. And in order to get that regulation, the companies themselves need to ask for it, because that's the people that regulators actually listen to. And as I talk to companies in industry, they actually often agree with this point, but they don't end up doing it, okay? And that's where shareholders have a role, and philanthropy has a role, and politicians have a role to force this regulation. And because it can't go on. And it's extremely dangerous, this myth of voluntary. That somehow, we talk about greenwashing, that greenwashing is there to give a a pretense that the voluntary can work. So that's the punchline. What are we in the foundation doing? One thing we're doing is creating a rating center called Climate Arc, which will grade climate action plans and performance of the highest emitters on actual performance. Most companies, the high emitters, will get failing grades. And the purpose of that is to push for regulation, okay? And so, hundreds and thousands of companies will be publicly graded. It'll be a non-profit, and all the information will be publicly available. And so and I'll just say a couple of things that I started off doing some shareholder activism. I'm an activist investor, and pushing for disclosure of emissions and a plan, but only 2% of the top emitters have committed to decarbonize in any serious way. While we have more disclosure coming, it doesn't force anything, and shareholders are passive. So I put a bunch of shareholder resolutions on some big companies, some of them here, and some of them adopted it, but it doesn't, all these companies are doing is incrementalism, okay? They're not willing to make the serious investments needed, and unless there's a level playing field where regulation forces all the companies, and that's why we need the regulation. Any company moving alone becomes at a competitive disadvantage, and so they have to force the whole industry. But I don't think we have time for this, but yeah, so I'll just repeat the punchline. Okay, there's only one message, which is everyone must push for regulation on companies to reduce their emissions, because they will otherwise do as little as they can get away with, and the world will continue to burn down. That's it. Thank you.